The first part of this video will be the review of this analytic scale.
In the second part, I will use that scale to follow the drying process of this filament.
Welcome to another equipment testing video. This is Vevor Analytical scale, which can measure up to 2 kilograms, and the precision is 0.01 grams. And the price is only $69, which is good price for this accuracy. And this box is sent to me by the Vevor in exchange for the review. I can keep the product, but I'm not paid anything about this. Now, where can we use this kind of equipment in the 3D printing hobby? Well, first of all, we can check how much filament we have on the spool, but for this we don't need this accuracy. Any cheap kitchen scale with the accuracy of 1 gram will do the job. Of course, the range is important. You have to be able to measure about 1 kilograms. I have a separate video where I explain how can you check how much filament you have on the spool. But the other thing which I want to test is if I can check how much moisture I have in the filament with this precision. And of course, for this I will first test the precision of the scale, and later I will do some testing with the filaments too. Theoretically, it should arrive with the calibration weight. I'm not sure if it will be 500 or 200 grams because I can see different information on the website, but we will find out that soon. Let's see what's in the box. It looks like it requires some assembling. Front side needs to face up. The legs are adjustable and it should be flat now. And this is 500 grams calibration weight. The output of power adapter is 12 volts and 500 milliamperes. But it can also operate on 9 volt battery. The scale is leveled. I give it a power. Let's turn it on. Nice bright display. I don't want to speed up this part to show you how fast is the booting. Let's see if I need to calibrate it. Yes, I will calibrate it. And let's see if it goes back to 0. And now the repeatability. One more time. It's good so far. Now let's calibrate it to this 500 grams. Holding this for 3 seconds, and I have to enter the weight. I can change, but it will be 500 grams. I don't have to do anything, just wait a few seconds. That's it. Repeatability. Not bad. There are some instructions in a manual. For this kind of precision, there cannot be airflow. If I blow on it only a little bit, you can see it changes. No sun, no vibration, desk must be flat and similar. Now 1 hour later, let's see if I will get again 500 grams. Nice. And now let's see if I can measure some change in the moisture. This is Creality PETG. Only I want to remove the sticker because later if I place it in the water it may fall down. This is harder than I thought. Success. Okay. This is approximately 3 years old filament, and it was stored in a resealable bag with some desiccant inside. And this is my plan. First I want to measure it as it is now, and later I will place it in the water maybe 3 or 4 days. And after this I will dry it a little bit on open air and I will measure its weight. And after this I will start with the drying, and I will try to measure its weight every 1 hour. And maybe with this I can record some change in the moisture. And with this I want to find out several things. First of all, how much moisture it has in this state now. And also I want to see how much time I need for drying the PETG filament. Because if I will record the weight every 1 hour, maybe I will see some changes and slowly it will become very constant value. In that case, I know approximately how much time I need for the drying if the PETG is full of moisture. 1087.73 grams. Intensity of the PETG is bigger than the water, so it will stay down. And now after 3.5 days, I hope it's ready for the testing. I will leave it on a paper towel, maybe 1 hour, so all the water from the surface will evaporate. New paper towel. The surface is almost dry, so soon I will start the drying in this IBOS Polyphemus. And I really like this filament dryer because it is able to rotate the spool during the drying. It is Sunday morning and I'm ready to measure next 20 hours if necessary, but I hope the weight will stabilize much earlier. Just quick check if I will still get 500 grams. Oh, great. Okay, I think I can start the drying. Let's measure it first. 1138.57 grams. Noticeably heavier. PETG 55. I think I will raise this to 60. And I'm enabling rotating of the spool. 24 hours should be enough. And I will measure the weight every 1 hour. This rotating of the spool is very useful during the drying. During the printing it is rotated by the unrolling, but I'm curious when will more dryers start to implement this. Measuring after the first hour. These kind of filament dryers, which act like a food dehydrator, this means they suck the air from the bottom, heat it up, and exhaust on the top. They are better for big amount of the moisture. Those with the PTC heater, which circulates the air inside, are better with the less amount of the moisture, but they use less energy. Quite big drop in the weight after 1 hour, but I believe there was some water between the filaments inside, but we will see the graph at the end. After 3 hours. Soon I'm entering in that range where I need better accuracy than 1 gram, but even now, after 5 hours, I'm still far away from that weight which I had before I place it in the water. This means few things. First of all, don't store your filament in the water. Also, it is important that even if you dry only, let's say, 4 hours your filament, print from your filament dryer, because in that case you will always dry that top surface, because I believe that in this case we have quite a lot of moisture inside the filament, somewhere in the middle of the spool. Let's try to do some magic to see if I will get this number. I missed by 0.02 grams, and later I will explain you how I calculated this. And the last measuring for today. It is still 10 grams heavier than the start weight before the water, but now it goes to the receivable bag, and tomorrow I print something from it. Well, that was a strange way to spend a Sunday. Now it is still 10 grams heavier than before I place it in the water, but I don't think I ruined the filament. I believe that it is mostly dried outside and maybe it still has some moisture on inner loops. So it is important for me to remember that I have to print from the filament dryer. I'll print something from it later, but I have some calculation to show you. These are my measured points, and as you can see, it is still not constant. Actually, it is very far to be constant. Somewhere in infinity, the mass will stabilize and it will not change anymore. But for measuring, this is a very long time. So there is a method. If I find an equation which perfectly fits on these points, and actually this is this equation, it has 4 parameters, and if I use these numbers, it will almost perfectly align on these points. And now I can do some calculations, but what is more important for me is this d value, which is the value of the function as x approach infinity. This is theoretically the mass of our perfectly dry filament, together with the spool, of course. And now I can do some calculations. This means before I place it in the water, my filament has 0.9% of the moisture, which is good for my storing method in my environment. Currently, after 17 hours of drying, it has 2% of the moisture, but I believe that outside it is drier than inside, so let's print the Benchy, but the printing will be from the filament dryer. The printing will be from this cheap filament dryer. The Benchy is at 80% and I cannot see any sign of the stringing so far, but I will analyze it later when it's finished. Well, to me this filament looks completely dry, but decide yourself. I need one more quick testing because I want to experiment a little bit with drying in the microwave. Now I already printed the Benchy with this spool, so this number will not be comparable with those which I measured earlier. 1085.35. Now don't forget that this is a little bit risky to do it with PETG. I will do just half minutes, then 1 minute break and another half minutes. Another thing you have to pay attention that you cannot do this with the bamboo lab spool because it has some metal in them. Now 1 minute break. The reason I'm careful because the 100 degrees Celsius of boiling water may be too much for this filament, so this is more safer to do with the nylon, for example, but not with the bamboo lab spools. Another half minute on 1000 watts. And now let's see if I can record some changes. Oh, 1085.27. For this size of the change, I would need 20 minutes in this filament dryer. So who is drying the nylon in the microwave? What's your experience? Quick conclusions for the end. Well, don't store your PETG filaments in the water, store it in some dry place, and in that case probably you can use it out of the box, you don't even need a filament dryer. Of course, depends where do you live. If you live in high relative humidity area, then probably you will need a filament dryer. But let's say drying of 4 hours, 60 degrees Celsius may be enough, but in that case continue printing from the filament dryer. Maybe in this case you can use this kind of scale to check the weight of the spool before you place it in the storage box and before you start with the printing, to see if there is any moisture in it. Now about this scale, it is quite good for this price, and unfortunately this morning I got the email that it is not available in US, so I apologize for this. I usually try to accept products which are worldwide available. I use a lot of analytical scales on my workplace, and don't forget they require a little bit different treatment compared to the cheap kitchen scales. For example, if you leave it outside several weeks, it will collect the dust, or you just remove that sticker. In that case, you have to recalibrate it again because it is so sensitive. That will be it for this video. I hope you learned something. I learned something definitely about drying the PETG, and I'm quite disappointed, unfortunately, so I have to be careful and I will continue to store them in some dry places. Thank you for watching, and I hope you follow me to my next video. Bye.